I'm live. Let's play some guitar. Let me go post this link over on our website. The website is denverguitarorchestra.com. And today we're going to be tackling Farmer in the Dell. Page. Farmer in the Dell. Clementine and Beautiful Dreamer. So it's where do I post the link here? October 27th, space, control B, shift, highlight, link, enter, edit, settings, open a new window, update and update. So let's check and make sure that that's working. We'll get everybody settled in here. They'll let me know if the sound is good. We'll talk about that, and we'll keep moving forward here. We're logging in a couple minutes late. I went and grabbed a pear and I got sitting there busy chit-chatting, and next thing I know, I'm over time. So let's get set up here. My guitar stuff. And we haven't been working on daily scales, and I want to change that. I want to make sure that we start doing that every day. And part of the problem is I have never downloaded them into this gadget. So let me fix that while we're sitting here chatting. Turn this on. I've been playing all these earworm songs today, and so I will be busily singing the wrong tunes. Farmer in the Dell, the Farmer in the Dell. Yeah, Farmer in the Dell is one of those iffy one-chord songs that is very helpful for learning guitar, but it's not really a song you care about. All right, songs. And what are these called? PDF. 5 scales. Do I have that in here? Must be under handouts. Let me back up one. Oh, they started adding advertising onto this. That's great. All right, so let's go to. Oops. Where did I end up here? Songs. There we go. Handouts. Handouts. 5 scales. Click. Go here. Downloads. Guitar. Cloud. Download. Okay. All right, guys. Let's see who's logged in here so far. Vic is here. She says the sound is good. Pauline is here. I know the whole day. Poor Pauline. It's been one earworm after another. The good news is you get over earworms eventually. It's just the last one that sticks in your noggin. Happy Beautiful Dreamer. We love that piece. It's a really nice piece of music. I'm very excited to work on it with you guys this week. Evelyn, never got the level 4 songs with it. The reason you haven't gotten them is because I haven't sent them to you yet, Evelyn. I have them done, but I like to review them every time that I go through these songs. You know, there's something I used to do that I do a little bit differently now, and particularly now that we are all online, I want the stuff that I post there to be really, really fine. And so you don't have it yet. I will, God willing, and the creek don't rise, I will be able to get those done tonight. I've got one piece to write for ukulele, the 2 pieces to get out to you guys. And now in my head, there's something else I'm supposed to be writing, but I don't remember what it is. So, yeah, so we're going to keep moving forward. And no level 4 songs today. That means that you get to pull a level 4 song out of your book and practice that one and just revisit it as a delightful blast from your past. Let me go grab my guitar. I'm in guitar. I want to start with those scales. I want to talk about the scales. I don't even know if we've talked about those. So grab your daily scales. In your book, there might be called double octave guitar scales, or you might have them filed under 5 guitar scales, 5 scales for guitar. Have we even talked about these? I know I posted them, and I don't think we've even talked about them once. So I do want to chat about them very briefly. Scales are part of being a musician. It's something that we all do a little bit of. The great great players, I think, do lots and lots of scales. I think there is a reason for them, but they're not. I don't particularly find them overly helpful in the sense that that the skill set in a scale is suddenly going to magically make you better at making music. I think it's a valuable skill set, but I think if you've never played a single scale ever, you can still end up being a pretty decent guitar player. Wanted to talk briefly about this. I'm going to post a little bit of music theory on a daily basis. It'll be the same thing for all the instruments I teach. And so you guys in guitar, you need to know the 2 names for this. You actually have 3 names for it. And so guitar players, one, I want you tonight to see if you can draw it without looking at it. Okay, so draw this exact thing, but do it without looking at it so that you come up with a system for creating this that works for you every time. I want you to be able to do this in your sleep, and so draw this without looking at it. Then tomorrow when we come in, draw a blank scale. Then tell me the 3 names of the scale, and then clef without looking at a reference. Okay, so you guys have, and then your guitar scale has another feature to it that sometimes shows up on your sheet music and sometimes not. And I want you to know what it is and why it's sometimes there and why it's sometimes not there. Okay, so that will be our discussion tomorrow, is how your scale is different than other people's scale that looks like this. All right, so that's step 1. That's your music theory thought of the day. Hey, can I draw this without looking at it? Okay, that's step 1. Step 2, looking at your guitar scales, which a couple of you guys asked me to post up. I posted them up in 2 ways. I posted them up with one with no tablature and one with tablature. Now, I will be perfectly honest with you. I will be using the one with tablature because I don't personally think there's any reason that you ever have to play music without tablature. Okay. However, there are many, many, many of you who grew up with music. You feel that standard notation is really a valuable thing for you, and you would like to learn how to play from that. And I do think, in terms of reading notes quickly and knowing what they are, that scales are helpful in that regard. And so, I think over time we'll probably have a few exercises where you can start looking at chords on the paper. We'll post up a few chords in various configurations so that you can see what those look like and start to identify those more quickly. As I said, I believe if you are going into academic guitar, in other words, you're going to go to school for either jazz or classical guitar. That's the only 2 types of guitar they teach in school. Then you do need to know how to read standard notation. If you're not doing one of those 2 things, you do not need to know how to read standard notation. And those of you who are like, yeah, I do, you do too, the things that will benefit from you are very low level things. How long does a quarter note last? How long does a half note last? There's not the high level detail that you would need to do. In guitar music, you don't really need to know that stuff. Tablature will get you through quite fine. And frankly, if you're playing a song you have never heard before, there's a question on my head like, why? You should always know the song that you're about to play, and use your resources to help you out. Elizabeth and I, normally we spend lots of time when we start a new song or new idea, sharing YouTube videos back and forth. Hey, have you seen this person play it? Have you seen that person play that? So we get to know the song pretty well just by wandering through YouTube a little bit. So that's something. So one, that's another reason why you would use standard notation if you're playing a song you've never heard before. But there should be no songs you've never heard before that you're tackling. So that eliminates that reason. And then so you're almost always going to know what you're doing prior to even starting. And so then the question is, do you need to go through the work that is associated with reading standard notation versus just doing what the tablature says to do? And the answer is no, you don't. But having said all of that, I do believe that knowing how to read standard notation is an important activity for musicians. It's something that's part of our heritage. I just struggle with the fact that this standard notation is not the best notation for this instrument. Now, having said that, let's tackle it. Okay, so the double octave guitar scales, what I'd like to do is each day we will pick one, we will play through it. You at home, I'd like for you to get comfy playing all 5 of these. Key of C, it's not a great guitar key, but we will be playing in it often. Key of G is a great guitar key. We play in that all of the time. Key of D, we will also play in all of the time. And key of A, we will play in all of the time. So those 3 scales there are pretty darn important. The reason E shows up is because folk musicians a lot of times will write in the key of E because the chord shapes are pretty friendly in the key of E, and so we will spend some time in the key of E. I don't do much arranging in the key of E. For instrumentalists, it's not necessarily the best choice. G, D, or A is what almost everything I arrange on guitar ends up in because those are the most playable keys. And I really do have to change the strings on these 2 lower strings. All right. So double octaves means 2 octaves. You go all the way up for 2 octaves, and then you turn around and come right back. Let's talk about the C major one. You're going to start with a 3 here. That's a C note. Okay. Would be not a bad idea to note that that's okay. Now, on your sheet music, that says it's a middle C, right? Okay. You need to know that's an octave below middle C. Okay, and that goes directly to this issue here that we will be talking about tomorrow. But that's a middle C. On the paper, it's an octave below middle C in real life. Okay, your next note is a D note, and that's open string, obviously, E, A, D. Your next note's a E. Okay, and notice when you make a C chord, you're going to hold down a C and an E. Okay, so that makes sense. Next note is a 3. That's your F. Okay. Next note is a G, obviously open 3rd string. Okay. Next note is an A. And by the way, when you're making a C chord, notice we leave that string open. So now you know in a C chord, there's a C, an E, and a G. Okay. We were on G. Next note is an A. It's a 2 on the 3rd string. Next note is a B, open 2nd string. And then you've got another C here, okay? So when you make your C chord, what you're holding down is a C, an E, a G, you're not holding that down, but it's open, and then another C. So now you know what makes up a C chord, and we'll be talking about that on this board over time. That's why that's a C chord. C, E, G, C. And it's in the proper order too. That's what's kind of cool, which makes the F chord that goes with it all the more demoralizing, by the way. Okay, there's your C. So then we start our next octave. You're on the 1 with a C. Then you go to, this is a D. Bottom string is an E. Next string is a 1 here. That's an F. You got your G note here. And by the way, just pay attention. You make a G chord like this. The last note you hit is a G, and the first note you hit is a G. Okay, and all the other, everything in between is either a G, a D, or a B. Okay, there's your G. Okay, and now notice on your sheet music it says C5. That means bar on 5, and you don't have to actually bar this one, but you do want to change positions to 5th position. So now you're going to go to 5 to play the 5, and then the 7. And then the 8, okay, and that's another C note right here, okay. So then to go backward down that list, you're on the 8, you just hit 8, you don't hit 8 twice, you go back to the 7, then the 5, change to 1st position, 3, 1, 0, 3, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, 2, 0, 3. Okay, there's your scale. Now, if you are doing that scale and you want to learn standard notation, don't read the numbers, read the notes and say their name out loud as you do it. So do that with me now. 1, 2, ready, play. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, B, A, G, F, E, D, C, B, A, G, F, E, D, C. I'm like, what comes after E? D, C. Now you know the names that are associated with those places on the fretboard. I would say if you're thinking, yep, I am absolutely positively doing standard notation, learning that that's a C and that's an F, and then this is a G, this is a C. Those are all super helpful. Knowing that's a G, knowing there's your C here. All of those really, really helpful pieces of information. I would say now, as we talked about on one of these episodes a long time ago, lots and lots and lots of scales out there, and we'll experiment with lots of them. For now, we'll stick to these 5. We'll get a little bit of experience talking about what they're useful for and what they're not useful for. Hey, Arlo, welcome in. And then again, if you want to learn how to read sheet music, all the power to you. If you're going into academic guitar, you have to know how to read sheet music, standard notation, but otherwise you do not have to. But if you want to learn it, here's the beginning of that. And if not, if you're like, I don't care about standard notation, the tablature one, the one with the tablature one is helpful. I have in front of me the one with the tabs on it, but you don't. But if you are going to learn how to read standard notation, try not to use the tab one, okay? Or at least use the tab one and then get rid of the tab one and then go back to the standard one and just start memorizing your patterns here. And it really is a pattern, guys. When we get to the rock guitar scales, where we'll use a bar, it's definitely a pattern, right? And so we will set up a standard system for using your fingers, and you'll use your pinky a lot, and then it will be as if there is a bar, and you will just develop this pattern, and then that pattern you can walk it all the way up the frets just like that. And so if this is the pattern for C, then we just put a bar here, and then we do the same pattern. Now we're doing it in C sharp, right? And so that's how the other guitar scales will work. And usually some, oh, hey, Tom, I thought you weren't going to make it today. Glad you made it in. Scales are a good finger control. It is good. And guys, the other thing is, when you watch rock guitarists, their job, they're trying to go as fast as they possibly can, right? That, I think, is a goal. I think it's very admirable that we are working in that direction. But the truth of the matter is that you're just as effective, and it's just as important to play scales incredibly slowly, so that you're being very mindful and thoughtful, and nothing else is getting in your way, that you're getting the exact same distance between each one. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4 is good, as opposed to 1, right? So you want to get them. I guess I should say, if you want to do that and you're mindful and that's what you're meant to do, then that's good. But if not, slow it down, try to keep the spacing nice and even, and then know the names of the notes you're hitting them. And again, like Tom is saying, it's a really great finger control exercise. Give you a chance to try these things and to start being mindful. If you're going to hold a D chord, well, this is a D string, right? So that makes sense. And then this was a G, but now it's an A, right? And this is a B string, but now it's a D. So I got D, B, D. Wonder what this one's going to end up being. Oh my goodness, it's an E, it's an F sharp, right? So now I got D, B, or D, D, A, D, F sharp. So those 3 notes make up a D chord, D, F sharp, and A. And that's why that's a D chord. And again, on the board here, we'll eventually be talking about why certain chords are the way they are. It's actually very straightforward. It's actually super simple when you actually learn how to do it. Um, but initially, you're like, well, there's a D chord. Like, well, what is a D chord? You're like, I don't know, it's that. And so just be patient as we go through some of this. Those of you guys that this is helpful to, you'll take advantage of it. And those of you guys who don't care about this stuff, it's going to be fine for you too. I don't spend a ton of time on theory. Mostly we play songs, all right? But having some theory and some understanding of how things are working underneath music certainly can't hurt you. All right, so that is our first scale, the key of C scale. And again, the big thing on this one is knowing the names of the notes if you care about it. Otherwise, knowing the pattern is important. And then knowing when you get to the 5, you actually slide your hand up into 5th position, play your 5, 7, 8, 7, 5, and then slide right back into 1st position with your ring finger on 3. That's the lesson for the key of C. And if you guys will help remind me day to day, which was the whatever we talked about the day before, we can do the next scale on there. I would, if I were you, even if you don't care about standard notation or scales, go ahead and play through these a couple of times so you can figure out how they work. And then that way our daily scale discussion will go a little bit faster. Speed is overrated. Accuracy is better. Eric Clapton is nicknamed Slow Hand. Eric Clapton knows a tiny bit about playing guitar. Yeah, speed is what it's not a bad idea to practice speed, but it's not. At the end of the day, when you go look at the really fine classical guitar players and the real top level guys, most of them are not working on speed anymore. That's just something 20-year-old boys work on, is to see how fast they can go. It's not necessarily the most musical way to approach your music. Depends a little bit on the music you're playing. If you're playing rock ballads, certainly playing them slow is the correct answer. So all right, so there's our scale for the day. Those of you guys that are getting here a little bit late, I do not have the level 4 songs ready to go for you, but I will probably be able to get them out tonight. And if you haven't already sent me an email, if you've sent me an email, I have it. I will get it to you. If not, I will send me an email. Let me know you want the level 4 stuff. It's kind of ready, but not really. So I have to play through it and double check that I don't have any typos on there. All right. So last week we wrapped up with Frere Jacques in A, and this week we're going to run through Farmer in the Dell in A. So right now, put an A chord on. That should be part of who you are if you're level 1. Okay, that should be something that you just know how to do. Remember, you want to avoid hitting that 6th string if you can. Let's run through it a couple times. 1, oh, and it's in 6/8, and in your head that means you're going to be counting in 2. The farmer in the dell. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. Okay, so 6/8 we usually count it in 2, unless it's incredibly complex music. Then you might count it in 6, but for the most part we count it in 2. So I'm going to count in 2, and we're going to go 1, 2. The farmer in the dell. The farmer in the dell. Hi-ho, the dairy-o, the farmer in the dell. And change your pattern. The farmer takes a wife. The farmer takes a wife. Hi-ho, the dairy-o, the farmer takes a wife. Again, the farmer takes a child. Let's see. The farmer takes a child. The wife takes a child. Hi-ho, the dairy-o, the wife takes a child. The child takes a nurse. Wife takes a nurse. Hi-ho, the dairy-o, the child takes a nurse. The cheese stands alone. The cheese stands alone. Hi-ho, the dairy-o, the cheese stands alone. Okay, so that's your A chord. Okay, what we're really working on there is what other fun things can you do with your right hand. Okay, and that's why I don't let you use a pick. If you use a pick, we're all of a sudden magically tied into the either down or up. Okay, you can do some finger picking with a pick, but mostly picks are for strumming up or down. Okay, and when you are trying to get into finger style guitar, you need to have more options with your right hand, because sometimes you're going to go up and down. That's what your thumb is for, or your index finger. Okay, and then sometimes you're going to be plucking, and sometimes you're going to be arpeggiating, and of course, if you are all that, you can stick your pick right here between these two fingers, or up in your mouth, more likely, and get gross. Play. That's how a lot of guys do it. But it's probably better just not to use a pick at all, especially with amplifiers these days. You really don't need to pound on your guitar. The amplifier will take care of the job for you. All right. Next is the melody. Notice it's all twos, all twos, all twos. So your first thought is, well, melody, Gary says 1, 2, 3. I'll just do my middle finger up and down. Very inefficient, right? Because you're going to be on the fourth string, second string, third string, all the way down to the first string. This middle finger is going to be up and down. So let's do this. Just grab it, hold on to your A chord, and let's see how many notes we can get just by holding the A chord. Okay. By the way, those of you who may end up teaching somebody how to play, this is the first moment where tough acts, we really teach tough acts, okay? Because now you're holding the chord and playing the melody. Now you can see my pedagogical thought there, right? First lesson is to read tablature. Second lesson is to read tablature in a different key. And then the third lesson is to read tablature, but begin to start holding a chord at the same time. And that's going to naturally lead into playing tough acts, okay? A chord, first notes of 2 on the fourth string, pluck it. Then you got 4 notes on the third string with 2, you're already holding them down. Okay. Last note of measure 2 is a 0 on the second string. Now, right now you're holding down the 2, so lift up your ring finger, play the 0, and then put your ring finger right back down and play the next 5 notes. Okay. Next note is a 0 on the first string. You're not holding anything down there, so that's good. Play those 2. Now you have a 2 on the first string. You could add your pinky finger, but I run out of space, so I'm just going to drop my ring finger down, grab that 2, and then put it right back where it was, and play the 0 that comes after it. And then those next 2 2s I'm already holding down, string 2 and string 3. Now I have a 0 on the second string, but I'm holding a 2 right now, so I'm going to lift my ring finger up one more time, and then put it back down. 2, 2, lift it up one more time. Oh, oh, and then I'm going to grab a 2 on the third string. And then at the end of that measure, I'm going to hit the 2 on the fourth string and play the whole song over again. So while you're holding your A chord, see how many of these notes you can get from the top. 1, 2. Again. One more time. And you notice I slow down just a little bit as I'm coming into the airport, right? So I'm coming in at measure 7. I start slowing that down just a little bit. Very typical last measure or 2 of every song you ever play. You're very likely to slow down just a little bit, ease in the airplane into the hangar, right? All right, not a great song, but absolutely a perfect song for getting you started thinking about holding the chord and playing the melody. Okay, and then for those of you guys level 2 and above, you really should be able to play the tough acts. Let's go through, play it with your thumb the first time through, and then your claw the second time through. 1, 2. of those techniques. Well, so first of all, think about all the techniques you just used. You're holding a chord, you're making adjustments to the chord to fit the melody. So the chord is being held for the most part through the whole thing, but you're going to be making minor modifications to that chord to get the melody out. And then you did the thumb down approach, which is going to work on every single song, every single day for the rest of your life. It's always beautiful, especially on guitar. You get that nice big flowing sound. And then using this pattern with your four fingers, you're thinking about which strings are going to require me to move which fingers, and I'm needing to still pull the melody out, making sure that the whatever string is the farthest that way is going to get hit cleanly and clearly. And even into measure 5, where you've got 5 strings, you're supposed to do that, but you've only got 4 fingers, so now you're going to have to leave out probably the 4th string. So making those strategic decisions to make sure that you're getting the melody notes correct and the chord all at the same time. So when people say, oh, Farmer and Adele, stupid song, it is a stupid song. It doesn't matter. The song is irrelevant. All of the skills and techniques that you're going to need for levels 2 and 3 sitting right here in this song. And you do yourself a favor by, hey, I'm going to work on claw technique. Go grab Farmer and Adele. I hate that song. Well, rewrite the words, make the words better. You could turn this into something that actually makes sense, right? I'm playing my guitar. I'm playing my guitar. Don't you wish that you were too? I'm playing my guitar. I don't know. Rewrite the words. Make it good. Okay? All right. Farmer and Adele. Questions, comments, concerns? We'll move on to level 2. Level 2 today, we are playing Clementine. All right, now's a fun time. We get to talk about the unreliable narrator in this piece of music. Pull it up, level 2. Buffalo Gals, Clementine. All right, now you have, 8 verses to get it right. Okay, and you have 2 chords. These chords go all the way back to Tisket, Tasket. A chord in the cavern, in the canyon, excavating for a, and then you're going to go to your E7, which we've done in the past. Index here, middle here. Mine dwelt a minor 40, back to A, Niner and his, back to E7, daughter, Clementine, back to A. Turn the page. Oh my darling, oh my darling, oh my darling Clementine, you are lost and gone forever, dreadful, sorry Clementine. Okay, so you got a lot of E's and A7s, E's A7s, E's A7. Another opportunity is to work on those. Let's see. Vic says it does feel good to try new techniques with an easier song. I think one of the things, it's funny because when you're the teacher, right, you're supposed to know how to do all this stuff. But every single time I go back to book 1, I'm always like, oh, I should be emphasizing this as a useful tool. Because I think, honestly, I do think we always want to play the harder songs, right? You're right now, and a little part of your brain's losing its mind, going, I need to get a hold of Wonderful World and Imagine. I got to get on my hand on those level 4. I got to hurry up and get that stuff going. You know what? If you are dead solid on Clementine and dead solid on Farmer and Adele, you're going to be just fine on those other songs, right? I mean, at the end of the day, if you get your toolbox in really good shape on these books 1 and 2 songs, it won't matter it won't matter what we put in those other songs. You'll be fine. You'll be able to do it. So yeah, I do think backing up and playing easier songs is a skill that most guitarists, they can't talk themselves into doing it, and it would really do them a lot of good. Now, Clementine. All right, so these are your chords. We're just going to sing the first verse so that make sure that you remember how it goes. And then let's talk about other choices. Okay, so from the top, 3 strums per measure. Okay, you know that because of the meter. 1, 2. In a cavern, in a canyon, excavating for a mine, dwelt a Oh, my darling, oh, my darling, oh, my darling Clementine, you are lost and gone forever, dreadful sorry, Clementine. Okay, that's it. That's the whole song. And then you have 7 verses of it. Okay, if you're a singer, you really do want to know what you're singing, right? You want to know more than just the words, but you want to understand the concept and deep pathos behind this song. Um, your narrator, who is not a great guy, it sounds like he loves her, right? He and Cameron, Dorothy Minor and the daughter, and oh my darling, oh my darling, oh my darling Clementine, you are lost and gone forever, dreadful sorry Clementine. So we know she's gone, right? We know she's dead. He's singing a song about her. We assume he loves her, like she was in fairy, like she was, and like a fairy, and her shoes were number 9. Okay, so number 9 shoes. Gentlemen, you don't know what that means, but that means she's got big feet. Okay, herring boxes without topses, sandals were for Clementine. So she's wearing boxes for her shoes. Okay, so she's poor. Okay, big feet and poor, living in a miner, living in a shack with a miner, her dad. It'll turn out. Okay, and then next one is verse 3. Drove she ducklings to the water every morning just at 9. So every morning at 9, she's taking the ducks down to the water, probably raising these ducks in order for them to become dinner. And so she's doing her job and taking care of things around the house. And then the tragedy happened. She hit her foot against a splinter and fell into the foaming brine. So she ends up falling into the water, right, as she's driving her ducklings down. Verse 4, her ruby lips above the water, blowing bubbles soft and fine. But alas, I was no swimmer, so I lost my Clementine. So he's no swimmer, so he stands at the edge of the water and watches her drown. Okay, now our opinion of this guy can go one of two ways. One, he's not a swimmer, doesn't know what to do, things get out of hand, she dies. Or, in a more modern interpretation, dude should have gone down with her, right? He should have tried, should have done something. And so he's a bad guy. Okay. In any event, she's now dead. Now, here's where things start to unravel for the Clementine family. In a churchyard near the canyon where the myrtle boughs entwine, grow the roses in their posies, fertilized by Clementine. So she's now rose fertilizer. Okay, not so great. A little iffy. All right. Then it gets more tragic. Then the miner, 49er, soon began to fret and pine. Of course, he just lost his daughter. Thought he ought to join his daughter, so he's now with Clementine. So we assume, since he ought to join his daughter, made a conscious decision. So we're assuming he also committed suicide. Okay, or not also, he committed suicide. So tragedy everywhere. And then here's where the narrator's life gets to be sad for a moment. In my dreams, she still does haunt me, robed in garments soaked in brine. So he sees her this floating above the water, all wet, coming to him in his sleep, the ghost of Clementine, right? Then she rises from the water and I kiss my Clementine. So now he's lost his mind. Things are bad, right? And he's so sad, we think, and he's having horrible nightmares about her. Everything's going very poorly for everybody in the story until verse 8. How I missed her. Oh, I missed her. Oh, I missed my Clementine, comma, till I kissed her little sister, then forgot my Clementine. So now we find out the true character of our narrator. Not a great guy. Okay, not a great guy. Well, maybe, I don't know. There's her whole family is dead. I guess that means her sister's open for kissing. So that's the song you're doing. All right. So I guess it's a song of hope. I don't know. Maybe song of redemption. Let's play the melody again. Taking a look. You got lots and lots of twos, so doesn't it make sense just to grab your A chord to play the melody? And then when you get to E chord, gets a little messier, but boy, right off the bat, we got a whole lot of twos. Grab your A chord from the top. 1, 2. Didn't do a great job, but the idea here is, hey, if you can grab a whole A chord and do a whole bunch of notes, do it. The only place where holding the E makes a ton of sense, you see, like there in measure 15, 2, 1, 0, right? Grab your E chord, 2, 1, 0, and then go grab your 2 for the melody. So that's where we start thinking about when we're playing melody. Yeah, mostly we're just picking out notes, playing positionally, but sometimes it makes a whole lot of sense just to grab the chord and you get a whole bunch of horsepower out of that, and then you have to do less work over here. Okay, so now you played the melody, you played the chords. I've gone into great detail on how this song goes. Okay, let's play it very quickly because I want to get on to Beautiful Dreamer before we get out. From the top, let's play the tough axe or whatever way you feel comfortable. 1, 2. We're playing through and you're on the 8th round of this. Hopefully you never have to play all 8, but you go into that second ending, right? Then you hit the 2, and you've got this A chord here. There's a bar on 2 covering the bottom 4 strings, and then your pinky on 5. Okay, there you go, and there you are. By the way, if you're reading standard notation, they will actually have this weird little notation there that says do a partial bar, do a 2/3 bar over the bottom 4 strings. Okay. Whereas tablature just tells you what to do, but they have to make standard notation adapt to guitar, and it's not always easy. There's Clementine. All right. Let's go take a peek at Beautiful Dreamer. One of the best songs written in the middle 1800s. I mean, Beautiful Dreamer is ridiculous that it even exists. It's crazy that here is old Stephen Foster writing terrible songs for minstrel shows, and he cranks that sucker out, and it's crazy how pretty this is. Let's talk very briefly. Your chords are not complicated in this. Really at all, right? They're really just all level 1 chord songs. And so you're beautiful. Well, you have your intro, blah, 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 blah. And then I need to double check. Did I give you guys the 3/8/1 or the 9/8/1? Let me pick and see. Okay, you have the 3/8/1. Good. I was like, mine's still the 9/8 version. And I'm like, oh no, that's sad. So the first 12 measures are just an intro, right? So you'd really start on measure 13 of your copy. Beautiful, beautiful dreamer, see if I can get it right. Beautiful dreamer, wake unto me, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Starlight and daylight are waiting for thee. 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Beautiful dream. I can't sing it. The 3/8 is you're going to get 3 beats in every measure, right? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and so you may find it easier just to strum once when you have that many strums on such a slow, beautiful song. Beautiful dreamer, wait unto me. You may want to think about playing it that way rather than 1, 3, 1, 2, 3. Try to mimic the idea of the song. The first part of the song is an intro, and again, you can pick. I would probably be just fine with you picking out the melody. That's beautiful, right? That's a really nice, but of course you have the tough acts too, and we'll talk about that in just a second. The whole song works very similar to that. Notice you're going to play measure 13 all the way down to measure 24. Then you're going to come back and play 13 through 24 again. Then you're going to go play 25 through 48. Then you're going to go back and do that whole shtick again, okay? And you're going to play 13 through 24 again, go back, play 13 through to, well, then you go clear to the end of the song. So getting your repeats right on this one is also a little challenging, I would say. And all right, let's just try, let's break it into a few different parts, okay? So your intro, do your intro. This A chord, bar on 2, pinky on 5, ring. And I'm probably just going to use pinky on those, right? Then switch to an A chord in measure 2. And then you're going to grab your D chord, probably, but you're going to end up with sliding your index finger up to get this 3. Measure 7, grab a full E chord, and then go grab your 10. And then at measure 10, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, and so that's a lot, right? You could decide on your own. You might be thinking, I might just do a 5 beat or something, just maybe hit a fermata on measure 10, and then when you're ready to go, then you can go. So measure 13, pinky probably, and then you're going to go to your A chord, and then another A chord. I would just grab the 2, middle finger on 3, and now grab your full D chord. And then, that's just an arpeggio pattern there, but you'll be fine with your thumb. Measure 19, a full E chord, 4, 2, E chord. If you can reach to the 4 and not let go of your chord, that's awesome, but most people can't do that. In fact, I probably can't either. E chord with the 2. And then you're going to stick on your E chord. 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3. Now you're going to go back and play another verse out of that same section. Second time you come through, now we play the Beautiful Dreamer section. So go to 25. You're going to play that chord. E chord with a 2. Bar on 2. Regular A chord. A chord with your pinky, D chord. Okay, and then all these sevens, which are beautiful, nice and slow. Play the 5, bar on 2, pinky on 4, and then a regular A chord. Okay, then next measure, got that bar with the 5 again. Another, okay, there's the 2. And then you got your D chord. Full E chord. E chord with the 2. Now you're going to go back all the way to the top and repeat that whole thought again. And then the second time you come through, or at the end, when you finally get to 49, it's the same as the beginning, basically. And then bar with your 5. And then finish up with a simple A at the end. Now you might finish up with a full bar. Yeah, probably put on the bar there. Cheap music says a regular A, but I think it'll sound better if you just leave your bar on with the 5. Yeah, then you get that nice pop of that A right there. So, all right, so kept you a little late. Sorry about that. Spent too long on Clementine. But it's a beautiful piece of music, and it's a little hard. There's parts of it that are kind of a bummer, but I do think that as a piece of music, it's delightful, and I think in one of those things where you could probably tackle this. It feels to me a lot like a level 4 song in the sense of it's really beautiful, very complex, lots of things going on, and yet still pretty worth doing. And so hopefully that'll work out for you. Okay. Like I said, tonight I'm going to work on Imagine and Wonderful World. I'll either get you one or both of those by tomorrow morning, probably. And so you'll have your level 4 songs. Yeah, a level 3 song. There's no significant difference between level 3 and level 4, except that level 3 is public domain and level 4 is more modern music. Most people want to play level 4 because they're songs they've heard of, but there's, in terms of skill set, getting through level 2 is where the skills are, right? And after that, yeah, every song is going to teach you something a little bit different, but really level 3 and level 4, they're the only reason level 3 is a 3 is because those songs tend to be timeless classics, which means they tend to fit our rules and our organization patterns around music a little cleaner. And so usually they're a hint easier to play, but in terms of skill set, they have the same exact set as level 4, I would say, for the most part. So, all right, guys, kept you a little late today. Sorry about that. You guys have a wonderful evening. Be safe, try to do good, try to practice, try to keep showing up. I will tell you, as I mention all of the time, if you keep showing up, you're going to be playing this stuff like it's no big deal. And if you can play this stuff like it's no big deal, people are going to want to listen to you play guitar, and we don't really care about them, right? You're going to be proud of the stuff that's coming out of your guitar if you just keep showing up. You will be, promise. That's it. So again, if you need Imagine or Wonderful World and you haven't already sent me an email, please send me an email. If you've already sent me an email, don't send me another one. I know. Okay. And I will see all of you tomorrow, and we will hopefully start with one of the level 4 songs, and then we'll work our way down, and we'll play Beautiful Dreamer in more detail. So let's see, where did I leave off? Let's see. Good. Vic says it's fun to play, so therefore it's fun to play. Thanks, Vic. Nancy, good to see you. It is beautiful. It's a nice song. Yeah. Evelyn, I hope you guys should really enjoy this song. This song is how he wrote it in 1862 is crazy. It doesn't fit the 1862 mentality at all. It's awesome. Pauline, beautiful song, by the way. Yeah, that guitar's just sounding pretty good. I got to change a couple of strings on it that are too heavy, but other than that, I'm really pleased with how that guitar plays. So yeah, uh, love these pieces. Good, Elizabeth. I'm glad you do. Uh, Tom, delighted you made it in. Fun stuff. Okay, keep at it, you guys. I will see all of you tomorrow. I'm gonna pull the plug. Be good.